What's up, everybody? I'm Michael Christ, 3 years running top seller at ShineOn, now head of marketing at ShineOn. And before we get started in today's video, I just wanted to thank you for checking out our YouTube channel. If you like this kind of content, I want you to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I hope you enjoy the video. You guys ready to get this show on the road? Let's do it. Everybody grab a drink. Here we go. This is something new. Ready? Raise up your glasses, mugs, bottles, or flasks, and join me now for the digital marketer's toast. Here's to more conversions, more cash, cheap CPMs, and lower CACs, to higher CTRs, much higher CVRs, to enabled ad accounts and big bank accounts, to upsells, downsells, and cross-sells, to winning products and repeat sells, and to the thing that everybody knows, the riches are in the niches, but also your email flows. Are you ready? Drink. Clink. That's good coffee right there. All right, so today we are going to be talking about evergreen niches and upcoming holidays. Evergreen niches, upcoming events, and holidays. So we're in this weird period right now. We're kind of in a lull. We're on the other side of Q4. And if you just started in Q4, I've actually had a number of people reach out to me. They started print on demand in Q4. They had some initial success. In fact, some people had some really great fourth quarters, and then they get into first quarter and they start to, especially on the other side of Valentine's Day, and they start to go, whoa, the sales are not here quite like they were before. Well, that's because it's very easy to get spoiled by fourth quarter. 50% of all e-commerce sales happen in the fourth quarter. So you can't really expect the rest of the year to perform just like it. So if you started in fourth quarter, don't fret if you're not getting sales right now. It's okay. This is kind of normal for other parts of the year, especially when you're in a lull between holidays, right? We're on this side of Valentine's Day now. We're still about 2 months out from Mother's Day. So buying has kind of leveled out, right? And it comes to kind of these little frenzied peaks right before each holiday. So what I want to talk to you about today are some evergreen niches you can be targeting right now in between these lulls, but also some upcoming events and holidays you may be able to capitalize on to make some money. Let's get into it then. Evergreen niches, that's where we're going to start. The first one is my favorite. It's the husband to wife niche. This sells well all year long. In fact, when we've taken data, like call data from our sales team, so many of you may not know that with the ShineOn platform, if you go to it, there's a phone number up in the top. This is actually a live phone number. We have agents on the other side of that phone number that will answer the phone and complete sales for you. But they also collect data on every caller. We try to figure out how old they are, what their genders are, why they're buying, and things like that. And believe it or not, husbands tend to buy just a little bit more than women all year long. And it's mostly in this husband to wife niche that they tend to make most of their purchases. The great thing about the husband to wife niche, in my opinion, is people get married all year long. So you have anniversaries. You have at least 2 big holidays you can hit. You have Christmas and you have Valentine's Day, and those kind of follow one right on top of the other. And then there are also just events, people graduate, people make accomplishments, they get promoted at work. There's all kinds of things that happen all year long that prompt a gift-giving occasion. And as anybody that's married knows, you don't even need an occasion to buy sometimes. Sometimes you just want to make a surprise or something like that, and you can buy a gift. Now, with ShineOn Jewelry, one of the great advantages is, you're tapping into emotion. You're tapping into sentiment. And I promise, if you have a phrase that's dialed in and really resonates with a husband, and he sees it come up in his newsfeed, even if he doesn't have an occasion to buy, if you resonate with him, if you click with something that's kind of alive inside of him, he will buy, whether there's an occasion or not. So this is one of my favorite holidays to go after. Now, the products that I see do really well in this particular niche are your love knot, which is this guy right here. So this is that little, it almost looks like a clover with a cubic zirconia in the middle. Alluring Beauty is another one that does well. Kind of got this teardrop shape with the cubic zirconia in the middle. Forever Love, I've sold a metric, crap ton of these. It's a heart with cubic zirconia in the middle, and then double hearts. Double hearts, we launched, I believe it was right after Christmas, and this thing really took off with a boom right out of the gate. It was selling really hot. So this is another one. It's kind of new too. So it's going to be new in the news feeds. It may resonate with people that perhaps have seen Forever Love, Alluring Beauty, Love Knot, something like that, and didn't want to make the purchase. Now for targeting, I always like to start my targeting in the United States. I like to go after men ages 25 and plus. I used to put a cap on that. I used to go ages 25 to 64. I've stopped doing that. I just go 25 plus now, keep it really easy. And then for primary interest, you definitely want married. Now for secondary interests, if you have like a new pixel and it's not very seasoned, which I know most of you are new, you can experiment with secondary interests and try to find pockets of buyers to get your pixel more seasoned. So some things that I've seen work really well are targeting things. Most of the time I found that people that buy in this particular niche are in rural areas, and they're kind of in the Bible Belt. This is just my experience. So I'll try to just target things that I think kind of resonate in the Midwest. Now I am in the Midwest, so I do have a little bit of insight here into this, but I'll target things like fast food joints that I know that are popular, chain stores that I know are popular. Sometimes I'll go after stores. I've even targeted things like pickup trucks, NFL football, things like that. Anything that I think may give me a segment of that male demographic, I'll kind of go after it. And again, I'm experimenting broadly here. I'm just trying to find little pockets of buyers, because if I can get that pixel kind of seasoned, I can start to open up my interest and it'll go on and find new purchases for me. So this is one of my favorite niches, husband to wife. And you can see I've got some examples here of what these might look like in the top right. I'm not going to go in depth into phrases and message card design on this call. I have tons of videos about that. The big thing is use the greeting card format. It needs to be to my wife and then from your husband. You can get clever there. It can be to my soulmate, to my fiance, to my nurse wife, something like that. And it can also be from your soulmate, from your husband, from your firefighter husband, or however you want that to be. So you can get specific there, but it needs to follow that kind of greeting card format where it's to someone and it's from somebody. And then you need a phrase that's emotional and is going to have emotional impact and is going to resonate with people. You probably heard me say in a lot of other videos, if they cry, they'll buy. Seriously, try to make somebody cry. Try to write such a phrase that it puts such a phrase on here that it moves people. If you can move them emotionally, they'll find some reason to justify the purchase. I promise you that. I've also said it's the phrase that pays. I got that from a student like 6 months ago. It's the phrase that pays. Because there are two important things. You should write them down, especially if you're new to this. All of the designs you see here, by the way, we're going to be giving away for free at the end of this call. So stay tuned for that. Okay, next is mother to daughter. So again, we're in evergreen niches. So I already talked about how husband to wife is one of my favorites. Now mother to daughter. This is another fantastic niche for everybody to go into. This is another niche that has buying occasions literally all year long. You have birthdays for one, but also people are graduating from school. And not everybody graduates at the end of May, though. I mean, traditionally that's kind of where it is, but some people kind of finish their school workload at the halfway point in the year, but they still graduate formally at the end of the year. And so that's another angle kind of on this particular gift. People make accomplishments all year long. They win tournaments. There's all kinds of things that happen that could prompt a gift. And again, there doesn't necessarily have to be a special occasion in these particular niches. Sometimes if you put the right phrase on a product, someone will just be compelled to buy it. So it's kind of up to you to go after that phrase. Take everything I've taught you to date. Watch all my videos, the YouTube stuff. Take all of that and try to find a phrase that's really going to resonate, because that's what's going to be like jet fuel under these products and really make them sell well. So the product I really like in the mother to daughter niche is this interlocking hearts. This thing just tends to outsell everything else I've seen in this particular niche. I've seen the giraffe get some legs on it and do pretty well. I've also seen the dragonfly get some legs under it too. But this interlocking hearts one, especially if you're new, is a very safe place to start. It's visually appealing. The interlocking hearts are kind of symbolic. They kind of symbolize that eternal love that a parent has for their child. So it's just a good piece to start out in this niche. Now for targeting, again, I like to start in the United States. You definitely want to target females here, because remember, you're targeting the mom. You're not targeting the daughter. The mom is the buyer of the gift, right? So you've created a gift for a mom to give to their daughter, but the mom is making the purchase. So you have to go after the mom in the targeting. I also picked ages 35 plus. 35 is a little bit on the young side for a gift like this. Keep in mind that you need to make sure that the mom is of an appropriate age to have a daughter old enough to wear one of these pieces of jewelry. These are more sophisticated pieces of jewelry. They're not They're not something that comes out of a gumball machine, right? I mean, it's something you could wear to a nice event. It would dress up an occasion. So you're probably going to want a mom who's got a daughter that's at least 10 years old. I would say getting on to the teenager years would probably be a safer bet. 35 here is a little bit on the young side, but I think that's a safe kind of floor for this kind of gift. All right, now when it comes to interest, so the primary interest you need to go out for is parents all, right? Now you're probably thinking, well, why don't I just go after parents that have daughters? Well, Facebook doesn't let you target parents with just daughters. So you have to go after parents all, right? And there's like a 50-50 chance that the parents will have a daughter, right? Especially if they only have one kid. If they've had more than one kid, your chance of finding an individual with a daughter increases. And then for secondary interests, and don't get locked into these, right? These are experimental. This is where you test. I would recommend making a list of your own interests based on your research and testing across the board. But some secondary interests you can test with are dance, Girl Scout, softball. These are some safe places to start with, because you can almost bet that if a mom is interested in dance, interested in Girl Scouts, interested in softball, she probably has a daughter participating in one of those. And that's kind of how I approach my targeting when it comes to the mother and daughter niche. All right, so husband to wife, mother and daughter. Now, remembrance or memorial. This is another really good niche. It sells all year long. It's particularly selling right now because of the pandemic in the United States. It's kind of a tough time for everybody. Deaths are high, so you don't want to go into this with the wrong intentions. You're not trying to profit off of somebody else's loss. This is a niche that did well even before kind of the pandemic, and people want tokens to kind of remember their loved ones. They want that reminder. It's for some people, it's not always just painful. It's bittersweet, right? Like they love that individual for a reason, and sometimes the right piece of jewelry can help remind them of that person. So the products that I see work pretty well here are these kind of buyer upload message card items where somebody can upload an image of their deceased loved one to the front, and then on the back they can engrave like their name, their lifespan, kind of like that. Now this works not only with people, right, in our remembrance memorial niche, but it also works with pets too. People all the time want gifts to memorialize or to remember their pets. This is a great niche to kind of go into to help people do that. So you can see what the product kind of looks like up here at the top. You'll have kind of a message card, and you're going to want some phrase on the message card that resonates with people, reminds them of the feelings they had for their lost loved one. And then it's going to be a buyer upload message card product. So they're going to actually upload the photo, and they're going to put the engraving on the back. Now, a couple things that you'll want to remember for this is in your marketing and even on your product pages, you're going to want to make sure you have a realistic photo inside of your graphic pendant. You're not going to want so for example, if you're doing a memorial niche, kind of like this one here on the bottom, you're not going to want the image inside the graphic pendant to be like a stock image of a couple with their arms around each other or something like that. You probably don't even want a stock image at all if you can avoid it. You need to help the buyer imagine what it's going to be like to own the gift and what it's going to be like when their loved one is actually on the gift. So that's why you can see here in the example, I've actually got an image of this person here. I don't know that this person is necessarily deceased, but I just have a black and white kind of image here of this individual to kind of help the buyer imagine what it's going to look like when they actually make the purchase. Now, for the pets, it's a little bit different. People have kind of happy pictures of their dogs, and you're probably not going to be able to tell if it's a stock photo or not. So I'm a little looser on the pets. I would also, though, say that either in the ad and on the photos on the product page, you probably do want some kind of example of what the engraving might look like on the back of the product. You probably are going to want to show like the name and the lifespan. You're going to want to show people kind of an example of this product in use. That's going to help them make the decision to buy. All right, so when it comes to the demographics, this is going to depend on whoever the potential buyer is. I think it's mostly widows that make purchases in this particular niche. I could be wrong about that. We don't have fantastic data in this particular niche, but I would start with targeting females that are 60 years old or above. And then for pet remembrance, I'd go for females that are 40 years old and then single. Now, the reason I'm saying single is because usually if someone is divorced, single, estranged, their most significant relationships usually are with their kids. And if they don't have any kids, it's typically with their pets. So they're going to be even more likely to buy a product like this because the value and the purpose and kind of the meaning of the pet increases for those individuals. And the interests you test are going to vary, and it's going to require testing. You can start with things like cremation, funeral home, those kinds of things. Those can work to get you going. And then after you get going and you get some sales, you can start to spin off some lookalikes and things like that. But really, you're going to have to do quite a bit of testing here. What's cool though is once your pixel really gets dialed in, this is a niche that literally will just sell all year long. I mean, this thing just goes all year long. It doesn't ebb and flow quite like the other niches. So this is a great one to go into if you can get it dialed in. All right, so husband to wife, mother to daughter, remembrance, and then finally, maternity. So the great thing about the maternity niche is, first of all, it's a huge gifting occasion, right? Also, people get super excited, like grandparents in particular, like if their daughter or their son, they're about to have a baby and it's the first one, it's making them grandparents. I mean, they almost can't contain themselves. They're just buying gifts. And I know it was like that for us. I mean, before our kiddo was even born, he had more toys than I did when I was young. So it was like, it's that kind of thing. It's a very strong drive for people. So they have an urge to buy. And they also, they're not nearly as price sensitive in this space. The other thing that I really like about this is there is a real sense of urgency in this particular niche. You have 9 months of actual pregnancy. And then you also have just a short time while the baby is really just a newborn to get gifts like this. So you have a real sense of urgency. Another reason I really, really like this particular niche is because it revolves. Like every 9 months, you get people that leave and people that enter it. So you constantly have this new kind of pool of buyers, and you can run like the same product all year long. I mean, if you get it dialed in, you almost never have to turn the ads off. You may have to adjust the trickle, right? Whether or not you have the faucet all the way open, like as you run into Christmas, or you have to tighten things up a little bit on the other side of Christmas, for example. But the same design, the same phrases will sell all year long because you constantly have new buyers coming into it. Now, when it comes to the actual product itself, I like the buyer upload message card heart. You can see 2 examples of this up here in the top right. You've got the heart with this little sonogram, ultrasound image. And then you have kind of the phrase over here. That's, again, it's the phrase that pays. If they cry, they'll buy. You need to find something kind of cutesy and that kind of thing. And this is a good gifting type of product. And then down here, you have kind of another variation on the same thing. Keep in mind, Mother's Day is coming up. I'm going to talk about that here in another slide. And for Mother's Day, this is a great niche to start to tap into. When it comes to targeting, USA, again, I like to start there. Go after males and females because remember, you have all kinds of husbands or soon-to-be fathers that may want to grab a gift like this for their wife or for the future mom in the household. I go for 25 plus because of that. After you get some initial data, you can segment on your data inside of Facebook and figure out kind of where your most profitable audiences are and tighten things up. And then for primary interest, I've had good luck testing with a baby shower. I did some tests on this particular niche in the run up to Christmas, and I just threw some baby stuff. Like I think I did a Bye Bye Baby, Babies R Us, some baby stores, then some popular baby brands, and some other ones, and baby shower seemed to perform pretty well for me out of the gate. So you can experiment there. You don't have to get super imaginative on this one, which is kind of nice. Also, grandparents are more likely to buy the gift for a new mom than the actual father. So the father can still be included in that. It might be wise for you to kind of separate your campaigns out, right? Maybe you have a campaign that includes potential new fathers, and then you have another campaign that's more for grandparents so that you can get good, intelligible data and make decisions based on that. But you definitely need to do a little bit of experimenting here to really get the most out of the success. All right, so that covers it for evergreen niches. We're going to go into upcoming events and holidays. But before I do, I'm going to pause there really quickly. I'm going to catch up on the chat. I want to see what questions you have. So if you have a question, now is a good time to ask it again. So can you advise me how to adjust offerings on the URL I placed with ShineOn? Yeah, so you just go into the platform, pull up your product, And in the product admin, you can adjust the price. Do you use the same pixel if you have a specific target? Same pixel for mom to dancer, daughter and mom to soccer. Yeah, I use 1 pixel per niche. That's kind of how I like to think of it. So I'll use 1 pixel for mom to daughters, 1 pixel for husband to wives, and so on. Does the order of the interest have to be chosen in order? Does the order of the interest? Yeah, so I think you're asking me what's the importance. Well, inside of Facebook, you can have a primary interest and then secondary. As far as that goes, that's important. But if you group the interest inside a primary, like if you have more than one, then it doesn't matter so much. But you're able to narrow down and things like that in the interest inside the ad set on Facebook. I'd encourage you to go to Facebook, go into the ad set, look at the targeting, and read all of the text, because the text actually tells you exactly what each of the functions are. It's just most of us, we kind of get banner blindness because there's so much in there, and we run past that. Would love to have an interlocking paw print and heart for pet people. Well, good news for you. Stay tuned, because we have something coming very specific for this niche that you're going to like. Masuda, how do I target daughters who have a mom with upcoming birthdays and who have a mom with new 6-month-old? So I do believe you can target something like people with friends with upcoming birthdays, but that's probably as close as you're going to be able to get. And there are specific kind of maternity interests inside of Facebook, but they don't get quite as scientific as what you're reaching for here. There's a little bit of this where you're kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. You have to test with different interests and see where your most valuable audiences are, and then optimize from there. Craig says, great info. Okay, I'm going to answer 3 more of these. Then I'm going to keep moving, and I'll come back a little bit later. If your question doesn't get answered, we can try again. How would you approach birthdays? Not sure if you touched up on it. I had to step away for a few minutes. So you can target friends. I can't remember the interest. It's like friends of people with upcoming birthdays. That's what I think the interests are inside of Facebook. And there's 4 or 5 of them you can go after. So that's one way you can do it. The tough part is it's very difficult to target family members, people that have family members with upcoming birthdays, because they're all kind of grouped into that other interest. So they're in there. It's hard to focus on them specifically. So I hope that helps. I had add to cart for my last Facebook ads, but no purchase. What's the problem? Well, it could have something to do, it depends on if you're the platform or the Shopify store, could have something to do with shipping. It could be the cost of the product. It could be that your product is just not compelling enough to buy. There's all kinds of things there. And without knowing more, it's tough to answer a question like that. Does the primary interest have to be chosen first? I don't think it has to be, but I don't think you're going to be able to launch the ad without choosing a primary interest. So you may as well do it. Okay, I'm going to keep going here. I'm going to move on to the next section. All right, so upcoming events and holidays. And a few of these I'm sure you've not thought of yet. So first of all, you have St. Patrick's Day. We're a little bit late on this one. We started working on this particular deck about 2 weeks ago. So a little bit late. However, we have seen good results for St. Patrick's Day in the past, but it takes a very specific design and product to get there, right? You really, really have to play on that kind of Irish theme, that St. Patrick's Day theme, that kind of thing. I'm going to go through this very quickly because we're almost too late on this one. But Love Knot is a great one to kind of go after here because it looks like a Celtic knot. It's also got this 4-leaf clover kind of look to it. So Love Knot is a great one to go after. And then for targeting options, you can try to target things like Notre Dame, Irish beers, and St. Patrick's Day to really tap into people that are Irish. I have one half of my family is Irish, and like they're just super passionate about all things Irish. They would be perfect for this particular type of item, honestly. But I know that some people are really passionate in this particular niche. So anyway, that's how I would target it. All right, next, Easter. So Easter is coming up April 4th. So we're a little less than a month away for Easter. On Easter, a great product to kind of go after would be the cross, right? We have the artisan crafted cross. And then you could also target, I would say, moms and grandmothers would be great targets here, getting gifts for their granddaughters or daughters, things like that. There are some people are very passionate about Easter, and for some people, it is a big gift giving occasion. Not everybody. However, it's still a great niche to try to go into. For targeting options, you definitely want to go after Christian interests. I would go after Catholic interests, Lutheran interests in particular, and I would also go after a lot of Protestant interests. I'd probably break those campaigns up to segment them out and see where your buyers are. You're going to have to experiment here. If I were starting in this particular niche, I'd probably go 40 plus female USA. And then again, I'd probably target almost by denomination, Christian denomination inside the United States. This is going to be a unique gift that people aren't going to see all the time. So it wouldn't shock me at all if something could kind of take off. You're a little less than a month out, but now would be a great time to start testing. And if you find a winner here, you're going to be in a blue ocean because not a lot of people are testing in this niche right now. But the cross is a great one to go after. All right, after this, we have, did I skip one? We have Mother's Day. Mother's Day is May 9th. This is going to be the next really big holiday that everybody can take advantage of. Everyone's going to be buying gifts on Mother's Day. It's almost a compulsory gift-giving holiday, right? And you only have a handful of those a year. Christmas would be a compulsory one. Valentine's Day is compulsory. Mother's Day and Father's Day. That's about it, actually. And what I mean by compulsory is like if you don't get a gift, it's a black mark. It's a stain against you forever. So you have to get a gift on these particular holidays. So Mother's Day is a great one because literally everyone's going to be buying gifts for their moms. When it comes to the actual product itself, just about anything will work here. The buyer upload message card is always a good one, especially for young or new moms. You can do something similar to what we did with the maternity niche, except you can upload an image of a little baby, right? That would be a great way to personalize a product or a gift for a new mom. Interlocking hearts is another great one. The engraved stick is a good one. You can actually, especially for new moms again, you can put, if a baby had just been born, you can put the baby's weight, the date the baby was born, the baby's name, all on different sides of the engraved stick and make it a really good, solid, personalized item. And if they have more than one child, they may pick up more than one necklace so they can get the sticks for all the children. So that's always good. And then Sweetest Hearts is another great one. It's these little hearts. They're really cool. They're hand stamped right inside of our facility. They don't go through a machine. I mean, we literally sit there with hammers and we work ourselves to the bone for you guys. And anyway, this is a great gift because you can personalize it. It's kind of it's dainty, and what's the word? I want to say cute. Cute's not really the word, but it's kind of dainty. It looks nice. It'll dress up an occasion. It can be meaningful and personalized because it's going to have initials on it and things like that. So this is another great one to go after. Now for targeting, it depends on the demographic of the potential buyer. Keep in mind, everybody's buying Mother's Day gifts around this time. So you're going to have men and women making purchases. You're going to have single people. You're going to have married individuals. Everybody is going to be making purchases around Mother's Day. My favorite people to target, though, usually are married women. And that's just because typically women of the household are managing the discretionary income. And they will also do a lot of the purchasing when it comes to gifts. And the great thing about married women in particular is they're usually buying a gift not only for their own mom, but also for their husband's mom, for their mother-in-law, right? So they'll typically buy two gifts. So if you can show them the right gift, you may get two purchases out of it just by targeting the right individual. So that's kind of my favorite place to go. And then husbands and boyfriends will still buy this jewelry for their wives if their wives are expecting. So Mother's Day is the next really big one. The maternity niche I talked about earlier definitely ties in here. This is a huge holiday, and you do not overlook Mother's Day because it's huge. I mean, the buyer activity increases dramatically around this time. Any compulsory gift-giving holiday, buyer activity just goes through the roof. And also, don't forget, we're in the middle of a pandemic. There are still lockdowns in a lot of places. There are still a lot of individuals that aren't going out to stores and shopping traditionally like they used to. They're buying a lot of things online. So this is a great opportunity to really capitalize on that. So Mother's Day is a great niche to go after. Highly recommend everybody. If you're going to pick one thing out of this entire lesson today, I would pick up Mother's Day and I would start testing today for Mother's Day on May 9th. You have 2 months. So you have plenty of time to do your phrase research, get some designs together, and start running some ads. Now, when it comes to actual buyer activity, just so you can know what to expect, I wouldn't expect sales to really start to show an uptick till probably 6 weeks out from Mother's Day. And the sales are going to start kind of slow first, because keep in mind, you've got all these, anybody that's kind of proactive, plans ahead, those kinds of things, they'll buy 6 weeks out, right? But many people are procrastinators and they're not going to. So around 6 weeks out, you'll start to see the sales uptick, and they'll just steadily increase and increase and increase all the way until right before Mother's Day. Starting in May, the sales are just going to absolutely explode. I would say probably the last week of April, first week of May, sales are just going to take off like crazy. So you're not going to want to miss out on this. By that time, you should have already known which products you're going to be pushing for Mother's Day. So everybody should jump on this one. Okay, moving on. Graduation. Graduation is another fantastic niche to go into right now. Graduation sells really well, and it's a little bit overlooked. Not a lot of people think of it as a gift-giving holiday, but I can tell you, based on past sales data, based on my own experience selling products for graduation, this particular niche can sell really, really well right around this time frame. Another thing is, a lot of people think of graduation just as in the end of May there and early June, but the truth is, I've seen this particular niche sell as early as April and all the way through the end of July. Now, obviously, it doesn't sell at the same velocity that entire time period. It does kind of peak right there at the end of May and the beginning of June, but there are graduation parties. And then there are other countries outside of the US where graduation doesn't happen at exactly the same times it happens here. So you can, if you find something that gets locked in the US, you can go global and you can find some other pockets of buyers. One of the graduation gifts that tends to do really well is this birthstone name necklace. Now, I think it does good because of the personalization element. You can add a name to it, but also that birthstone, something about that birthstone just makes this particular product pop a little bit. When it comes to targeting, USA is where I start. Go after male and female, 35 plus. Typically, I think you're going to find after some testing that it's mostly females that buy, and you're going to want to refine your ads based on that. And then primary interest, I go after parents with adult children that are 18 to 26. I've tested the parents with children that are 17 before, and I've tested this particular interest as well. And this one always outperforms the other one for me, but feel free to test this one and the parents with children 13 to 17, I think is the other one, to see which one performs better for you. Now, real quick, I want to talk a little bit about the design. When it comes to the actual design itself, you're going to want to try to make a play on the people that are graduating this year. You're going to want to think about what makes it unique that they're graduating in 2021. 2020 was actually kind of easy in this regard, because in 2020, they're graduating during a pandemic. And also do the math, right? 2020 minus 18, 19 years, where are you at? You're in 2001 when the World Trade Centers were hit, right? So you have individuals that were born in 2001. They lived through a recession. They lived through over a decade of war, especially if they're United States citizens. And then they're graduating during a pandemic. So if you weave all of those kind of details into the actual phrase, it performs really, really well with the audience, because it's so unique and it's just for this particular graduating class. You want to think about something similar for this year's graduating class. It's 2021. Think of some things they've lived through. Think of some things that are going on when they're graduating. You know, it's not wrong to still mention the pandemic. We're still in the middle of a pandemic during this graduation, and so on. So think through that. The more that kind of stuff you weave into the phrase, the better it's going to sell on Facebook. So highly recommend do some thinking on that. A great place to really find ideas for this niche in particular is Etsy. There's all kinds of clever stuff on Etsy you can capitalize on for this niche. All right. Next up is confirmation. So this is, again, another undertapped niche or untapped niche. If you get something working here, you're going to have the corner on the market. Not a lot of people are fishing here, so it's kind of a blue ocean. A lot of confirmations happen in April and May. We have the cross, which is a fantastic product that really resonates with the Christian audience. And it's also a gift-giving occasion, believe it or not. Confirmation, and then I believe the next one is First Communion. Both of these are big gift-giving occasions. So gifting a piece of jewelry to like memorialize the event is totally appropriate, and a lot of people do it. Now, when it comes to the targeting, again, you're going after Christian interests, and then I would probably try to find some interests that indicate people are active in church. You can always go after denominations, but I'd also think of things like youth group or Christian bands that maybe are a little bit obscure, that only people that are active would probably know about, things like that. When it comes to the phrase itself, again, the principles that make the phrase work never change. It's the phrase that pays. If they cry, it'll buy. Make it resonate emotionally in some form or fashion. People are going to be more likely to pick it up. So this is a niche. Both of these niches are great ones to kind of go into. So confirmation, First Communion. First Communion, the targeting is just a little bit different. I would target mostly Catholics and Lutherans on First Communion. Communion is a little bit, from what I know, I don't think a lot of Protestant denominations celebrate communion. Could be wrong about that, but I know that Catholics and Lutherans do. So Catholics and Lutherans is where I'd start here. And also, think of this, guys. Nobody's targeting this stuff. Nobody is. So if someone is browsing Facebook and they know some people that are going to have First Communion, are going to be having confirmation soon, and they see your product come up, it may be the only one that they have seen. It may be the only one they're going to see. So it's going to increase their chances to buy. They're going to understand the rarity of seeing an item like that. So this is why I'm a big proponent of some of these niches, some that maybe you haven't heard of yet. You can do really well in one of these niches because if you lock on, you almost have no competition. All right, so that wraps up the evergreen niches, and it wraps up the upcoming events and holidays I think we should all be focusing on. What's up, everybody? Michael Christ here. I want to thank you so much for checking out today's video. Before you leave, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Check out all the links in the description below, particularly the link to register on ShineOn.com and also the link to our Facebook group where we are constantly sharing marketing tips and tricks to help you take your e-commerce game to the next level. So once again, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and we'll see you in the next one.